What if your home could do more than just, well, be a home? What if it could actually care for you, especially as you get older? That's exactly what we're diving into today, the tech that's building what you might call a caring home.
So why is this so important? I mean, it comes down to a really simple fact. We're all living longer. And that's fantastic. But it also presents a massive challenge, right? How do we make sure our loved ones can live independently with a great quality of life for as long as possible? Well, the answer might not be what you think. It might not be in a hospital, but right in their own living room.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the big promise behind all this tech. Then we're going to build this caring home from the ground up. First it's senses, then a body, and finally a brain. After that, we'll tackle the really tough questions about security and safety and wrap up by looking at what's next for the future of care.
Okay, so let's get into it. The big idea here has a name, Ambient Assisted Living, or you'll see it as AAL. Sounds a bit techy, I know, but let's break down what that actually means for people.
At its heart, AAL is all about using smart tech to create an environment that helps out, but in a really subtle, intelligent way. And let's be super clear, the goal here isn't to replace people or human connection. Not at all. It's about extending autonomy. It's about giving people the power to live on their own terms, safely, in the place they love, for as long as they possibly can.
Okay, so what does this look like in the real world, day to day? Well, it could be something like managing a chronic condition, like hypertension, by keeping an eye on things. Or, and this is huge, it could be a literal lifesaver, detecting a fall and immediately calling for help. But you know what's really incredible? It's the system's ability to notice the tiny changes in someone's routine over weeks or months, things that could be the very first sign that something's wrong. Plus, it can handle the basics, like making sure meds are taken on time and even helping folks stay connected with family and friends.
Now, for any of that to happen, the house first needs to know what's going on inside it. So let's look at layer 1, the sensing home. This is where we give the home its own eyes and ears.
And it does this with a whole network of sensors that are designed to be, and this is the key word, unobtrusive. We are not talking about putting cameras in every room. No way. Instead, imagine things like smart carpets that can tell how someone is walking and detect if they stumble, or simple power meters that notice if the TV hasn't been turned on by the usual time, or even a smart pill box that sends an alert if a dose is missed. Each sensor is a small piece of the puzzle, and together they build this detailed picture of someone's daily rhythm, all without being invasive.
And sometimes, these sensors come together in really cool, almost futuristic ways. I mean, get this, the smart mirror. It's a real concept. It could use facial and voice recognition to talk to you. You're looking in the mirror and it pops up a reminder to take your medicine. Or it could connect you directly to your physical therapist for a video call. It could even, and this is wild, use AI to gauge your mood. It literally turns something you use every single day into this central hub for your health and well-being.
Okay, so sensing is step 1. The house can see and hear. But what's next? Action. Layer 2 is the active home. How does the home physically help? This is where we give the home a body, and that usually means robotics.
All right, for a robot to actually help you move around, there's this one super important concept we got to talk about. It's called backdrivability. I know, it's a mouthful, but the idea is actually pretty simple. High backdrivability just means the robot moves easily. There's almost no resistance. So think about an exoskeleton that helps you walk. You want it to feel like it's a part of you, moving completely in sync with your body. The last thing you want is to feel like you're fighting against a heavy, clunky machine. That's low backdrivability. So for this stuff to actually work and feel natural, high backdrivability is absolutely essential.
So, just how easy does it need to be? Well, check out this number. Researchers working on a lightweight hip exoskeleton got the resistance down to just 0.4 Newton meters. Now, you don't need to be a physicist to understand what that means. In plain English, that number is so low that the device feels almost weightless. It's fluid. It moves with you, not against you. That's the magic number. That's the goal for any of these assistive robots.
Okay, so we've got a home with senses and a home with a body. But we're missing the most important part, the brain. Layer 3 is the thinking home. This is the intelligence that pulls everything together, understands what's happening, and decides what to do about it.
So how does this brain actually think? Well, let's take a look at a real system called Smart Habits. It's basically a 4-step process. Step 1, it just watches and learns. It figures out what a normal day looks like for the person living there. Step 2, it keeps an eye on all the data coming in from the sensors in real time. Then comes the really smart part. Step 3. It looks for anything out of the ordinary. It compares what's happening right now to that normal pattern. And if it spots a major difference, say mom hasn't gotten out of bed by 10 a.m. when she usually is up at 7, bam, that triggers step 4. It automatically sends an alert to a family member or a caregiver.
Now, if you're detecting something like a fall, that alert has to be instant, right? You can't afford to wait for information to be sent all the way to some server farm hundreds of miles away and then wait for a response. It's just too slow. And that's where something called fog computing comes into play. Think of it like a mini brain right there in the house. It's a layer of computing power that sits between the smart devices and the big cloud. It can process the most critical data locally, on the spot. This means you get those super fast, real-time responses when every second counts.
Okay, but a system that knows this much about you, that is this deeply integrated into your life, well, it comes with some serious risks. We have to talk about the other side of this coin. What happens if this caring home gets hacked?
Seriously, this is the question that must keep the engineers and security folks up at night. I mean, think about it. A system that knows your daily routine, your health conditions, when you're home, when you're not, that's an unbelievable amount of personal data. So what happens when bad actors decide they want a piece of that?
And the threats are very real. You could have what's called a DDoS attack, which basically just floods the system with junk traffic so a real emergency call can't get out. Or someone could spoof an IP address. Basically, they put on a digital mask to pretend they're a trusted device, like your smart thermostat, to get inside the network. The good news is, for every threat, there are defenses being built. It's kind of like building a digital castle around the home, with firewalls, authentication gateways, and strict access rules to keep the bad guys out.
And the danger isn't just about data. It can be physical. Imagine that exoskeleton we talked about. What happens if it glitches? It absolutely, positively cannot be allowed to malfunction and cause harm. That's why engineers have this core safety principle called passivity. It's a way of designing the robot so that it's physically impossible for it to go haywire and overpower the user. It's an inherent safety feature that guarantees the machine can't inject any unexpected, dangerous energy into the system. Put simply, it makes the robot fundamentally safe to interact with.
So, when you take a step back and look at the whole picture, where are we headed? It really feels like we're standing on the edge of a revolution in how we approach elder care. But it's not just about cool tech. It's about finding this delicate balance between what's possible and what's responsible.
Because the potential here is just massive. We're talking about systems that could dramatically lower the costs of care, that can keep a watchful but private eye on our physical and mental health, and maybe most importantly, can catch the earliest signs of disease long before we would otherwise. The end goal is a future where technology empowers all of us to live longer, healthier, and more independent lives.
But all of this leaves us with a really big question, one that we all need to think about. As our homes literally learn to care for us, we're rewriting the rules. The promise of independence is incredible, right? But it's tied directly to this challenge of privacy, of letting technology into the most personal corners of our lives. So, how do we find that balance? That's the real challenge, and the conversation we need to have as we step into this new future of care.